Hello, this is Jim Duffy of Refining Fire Chiles, www.superhotchilies.com. Just going to give you a quick rundown of how we seed our trays and set up our trays for germinating plants. Okay? These are 288 cell trays. That means there's 288 holes. Okay? There are trays that you don't need to get this many holes in for your gardening hobby or your chili pepper growing hobby. And you can get 128 cell trays. You can get 96 or 92, 72. I believe it's 96. And then 72. There's also a 512 tray, which has even smaller holes than this. Now, so this is the standard tray I get from Greenhouse Megastore online. And this is a 288 cell tray. Now, before, just to be honest with all of you, before all my plants that I grew for my personal growing or for my seed production growing, I started those couple thousand plants every year by myself when I was in California. Okay? I had a professional greenhouse start my plants in 288s or 128s, and they started them on heat mats. They used a Sunshine Growers mix, which is a neutral mix, not a hot mix. This is Premier Horticulture Pro Mix. It is a neutral mix, not a hot mix. Now, what is a hot mix? A hot mix is something that contains a lot of nutrients in it, like Ocean Forest, Happy Frog, Organic Miracle Grow, blah, blah, blah. You do not want to use a hot mix for seed starting. Now, there are some people that I've seen in videos, and if you look at their plants, I'm not going to say who, they also sell seeds as well, that have said in their videos a few times, it doesn't matter what soil you use for germinating. Yes, it does. You don't need a hot mix with nutrients for germinating seeds. You want a neutral mix that's porous and that breathes. Now, if you don't want to use Sunshine Growers mix, which is on my grow sheets, or Premier Horticulture, because you got to buy those in big bags or big bales, you can go online and you can buy a small bag of Fox Farm Light Warrior. I don't really like it a lot because it's got big chunks of perlite in it, the big white chunks of perlite, which kind of get in the way of your planting. But you can pick some of those out. Hoffman's Seed Starter. Over here is Hoffman's Vermiculite. It's Hoffman's Seed Starter. Also, Epsoma Seed Starter Mix. EPSOMA. So these are great neutral seed starter mixes. Now, when your seedling starts growing, could even be only 1 or 2 inches tall, then you can transfer into a nutrient-based mix. But I wouldn't feed it anything for a week or two, and if you do, feed it diluted nutrients so you don't burn the seedling, because seedlings are fragile. So these are my 288 cell trays. We got a total of about 76 that we have to do. Our goal is to do about 20 tonight. The garage got cold. This is my garage, my garage, which it goes from a seed drying area to a plant packing area to a plant growing area. It evolves. It moves around. So right now it's seed starting area, okay? So what we have here is an easy seeder. It's called the Easy Seeder. Now, when I bought this on the recommendations of another nursery, I thought this was something that I just loaded the seeds in and boom, 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 they filled all my cells and I was done. No, this is a vacuum operated seeder. Here is the vacuum, just like a vacuum cleaner. So what you do is you buy a tray from them and you tell them, I want it for pepper seeds. They'll give you small pepper seeds, large pepper seeds. They all look the same to me. And you get this template. You see all those little holes? See those holes? When you turn the vacuum on and you shake this tray back and forth like this with the vacuum on, a lot of the seeds are going to stick to these tiny holes. Not all of them will. Some pepper debris or dirt is going to stick to some of the holes. It's not perfect, okay? Then over here, you put your tray. And over here, it's got a stop. You see that stop right there? So I set that stop to align this tray with these holes. So what I'm going to do is I am going to turn this vacuum on. And then I'm going to shake the seeds around and try to get as many to stick to the holes as possible. Then I am going to flip it on top of this tray. And then I'm going to turn the vacuum off and hope to God most of my seeds find a hole, which they're not. A lot of them will, though. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Hold on a second. It's going to be noisy, so I'm going to just pause the video. So as you can see, as much as I shook the seeds around, and there's a whole bunch of seeds down there, I'm using a half a tablespoon spoon to put my seeds in here, which is roughly 250 to 300 seeds, depending on the seed size. And you can see all these seeds didn't stick. And you can see in here, not every hole got a seed stuck to it. And that's just life. It frustrated me after I bought this for a couple $100, but the more expensive seed machines, which are 2 to 3 times this, I don't need it. I'm not a giant greenhouse operation selling thousands and thousands and thousands of plants to other nurseries or flower shops or whatever. So I'm going to make do with this. And I'll show you why in a moment. I'm going to get these excess seeds out of the corner here. I don't want to waste them. This is Carolina Reaper. That's the tray. I've already labeled my tray Carolina Reaper with a paint marker, so it's not going to wipe off. Okay? So the next step is to get these excess seeds out that didn't stick, so I'm not throwing them away. And then I'm going to flip this over on top of my tray and release the vacuum and turn the vacuum off. And then they'll show you what I get. Now I flipped it gently. I flipped it over gently and put it over my tray of soil. Now I'm going to go back and turn the vacuum off. There's also a valve you can turn off here, but I don't need to hear the vacuum, so I'm just going to turn the vacuum off. Okay. Now I'll just give this tray a little tap. And then we'll remove it. Now, if you can see closely here, little bits of pepper material stuck to some of the holes. You know what that means? No seed stuck to those holes. Okay? So before I do my next tray, I'll wipe this down with a paper towel, a dry paper towel, and try to shake loose some of that debris that's stuck to the holes right there. Clear it off. Because I want as many seeds to stick to as many holes as possible. And here is my tray. And as you can see, there's a lot of empty spots. And there's some spots where a bunch of seeds fell on the tray, which I don't want that. So now what I'm going to have to do is dress up the tray. Now, like again, this frustrated me when I first bought this last year. But believe it or not, if you go by hand and plant a 288 cell tray, you're going to be at it for a long, long time. So using this machine, it's not perfect, and I still have to touch up the trays, but it cuts my time probably by 60, 70%, which is a lot when you have all these trays that you need to do. Okay? So what I'll do, and I'm not going to show you, is what these cells that have like 5, 6 seeds in them, well, I'm going to pick them up with a pair of tweezers and I'm going to drop them in the cells that have nothing. Okay? And then if I have still some empty cells, I'll go around with the excess that didn't stick to the holes with the vacuum on, and I will place them in some of those holes. I'm not worried about getting one in every hole. I'm probably not going to sell 288 plants out of each tray. Although some people do buy some plugs for me, so I do a little extra. So in those trays, I'll try to get as many in every hole as possible. But I'm not going to get a plant to sprout in every hole anyway. Germination is not 100%, especially with super hots like this. This is Carolina Reaper. Now, come along with me over to here, to this table. Here is a tray of ahi charapita that I've already dressed up. And as you can see, most of the cells have 1 or 2 seeds in them, or even more than a couple. And that's okay, because ahi charapita seeds are small. I'm doing the best I can. This is not a perfection thing. If you're OCD and you want this to be a perfection thing, I suggest you don't seed 288 cell trays. I suggest you just buy hot sauce online and forget about growing. Okay? So now now what I've done is I filled in the indentations. You see, these cells have indentations. What I've done is I've taken one tray, put it on top of another, and squished down to give myself a little pocket or a little indentation, a little bowl, whatever you want to call it. And that way the seeds fall in there. And then I cover the seeds with probably an 1/8 inch or a little over an 1/8 inch of fine grade vermiculite. Okay? Fine grade vermiculite, which helps prevent fungal growth. And the professional nursery that starts millions of plants a year back in California, they top their trays with fine grade vermiculite. So you know what? I think they know what they're doing. They're a multi-million-dollar operation. And here we have some horticultural grade, fine grade vermiculite Hoffman's that I bought on Amazon. I think Burpee also sells it as well. So you don't have to get a lot of it. You can get small bags like this. So this is the vermiculite. Okay? So after that, then I'll show you what the last thing I do. Then the final thing I do is I gently wet the tray. I gently wet the tray. Okay? I'm not left-handed. I was just doing that left-handed, so excuse me for not being so accurate. But I make sure the tray's wet. I go gently because that vermiculite is dry, and if you blast the water on it, you could even put your hose on a mist setting. I've got it on the light shower, but you can put it on the mist setting, not the jet, the mist setting, and mist it first so the vermiculite sticks and settles down, and then maybe go with a light shower to get the tray nice and soaked, okay? Then after that, it's going to go in my germination cabinet, which holds 48 288 cell trays. Now, I'm not telling you to get a germination cabinet because they're over $6,000 now, maybe even more. Right now, it's set at, it just got turned on. It's set at 81.8, which is almost 82. Optimal germination temperature on a thermostat-controlled tray, heat mat, or a cabinet like this is 82 to 85 degrees. The key to germination, folks, is consistent optimal temperature, 82 to 85. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, I've done it at 75. I've done it at 70. Blah, blah, blah. You can tell me all you want. I do an average of 20 to 30,000 seeds a year. I've tried many, many methods, many, many soils, many, many things. 82 to 85 degrees is optimal. So if you're going to use heat mats, like these heat mats here, I use these to dry my pepper seeds. And I prefer the Super Sprouter brand. The Super Sprouter brand, these mats have lasted me. My brand new ones are at my friend's house. The Super Sprouter brand, which I found online, and they come in various sizes so you can do multiple trays, have lasted me. These are 10 years old. The Vivasun, I still have one or so left. I hardly ever use the Vivasuns or the Hydrofarms anymore because I've had them die on me in a year. Now, keep in mind that a heat mat is just plastic or rubber with wires in it. So if you just plug it in and stick it inside your grow tent or stick it on your table and you don't regulate the temperature, what are you going to be lacking? Consistency. And rare exotic chili seeds or even older chili seeds or more difficult chili seeds to sprout, you're going to get a higher rate of germination, better germination if it's optimal. You know what optimal means? That's like best case, right? Best practice is another word for it. So you want to go best case or best practice. Don't try to get away with things like, oh, I got away with doing this, or I got away with doing this, or I could do this without doing this. Sure. Then when you don't get as many seeds to sprout one year, even though you did it the same way last year, it happens. There's times I've had good trays and bad trays. So I have found that when using heat mats, you want to get a thermostat. They're like $15 on Amazon. You plug the heat mat into the thermostat, you plug the thermostat into the wall, and then you take the temperature probe from the thermostat, stick it in one of your cells in your trays, cover it with your humidity dome, and then set that thermostat 82 to 85 degrees. Set it at 83. And then for the first 7 days, if you're just going to use trays and heat mats, like I used to do before I got this germination cabinet, then cover it with a blanket. Why do you want to cover it with a blanket? Well, then the thermostat doesn't work as hard to maintain the temperature into that piece of plastic or rubber with wires. You have less heat escaping. You're capturing the heat. just for the first 5 or 7 days, especially if you're in a cooler area of the house like a basement or a garage. Unless you want to heat the whole basement or the whole garage to like 75 degrees so you don't get a loss of heat. Again, consistency. If you have a 5-degree fluctuation in temperature from day to night or from day to day, your seeds could start to sprout and then die. It's consistent temperatures, 82 to 85. I've said this, 10 times now in this video? So, I know you're all not going to buy this germination cabinet that has plenty of humidity and rising heat through it that cost me $5,000 and now it's over $6,000. Last time I checked, it was over $6,000. But you can get trays like this and put them inside a reservoir tray, which we call a 1020. Now, final note, 288 cells will not fit in a 1020. Let me show you a 1020. That's a 1020 reservoir tray. This 288 will not fit in there. How do you get it to fit in there? So that it can touch the bottom and you can add a little bit of water to it so it can wick it up from the bottom. You have to cut some of the cells out of the tray. It took me years to figure this out. I don't know why. I guess I'm thick-headed and I'm dumb sometimes. But you just cut some of the rows of cells out and then it will fit in here. And then you add a little bit of water in the bottom. Not too much water. You don't want the soil to be muddy. And then you check the water you check the moisture of your plant every few days, so it doesn't dry out. Now, if you use a 72 or a 96 or a 128, it will fit in here perfectly. And then you can add in your 1/2 inch or so of water in the bottom and let it wick up. And that way you're warming up the water, you're warming up the tray. You put your plastic clear humidity dome over it and boom, you're ready to go. Okay? But again, cover that humidity dome with a blanket or some towels to hold the heat in. You're trying to create an environment. Create the optimal environment with the optimal temperatures, with the right amount of moisture, and you'll do better on germinating seeds. Now, if you have some old seeds, there's this stuff you can buy on Amazon called gibberellic acid. You have to use it a certain way. But if you soak seeds in that overnight, or you can do a tea solution, but gibberellic acid is the best thing for getting dormant old seeds to sprout. You can buy some gibberellic acid and soak in that overnight. Follow the directions. It's on Amazon. Gibberellic acid, Gibberellic, gibberellic acid. And use that mixture and soak your really old seeds that you forgot all about in your desk drawer or your child's toy box or whatever, and take those seeds, do a soak in that for about 24 hours, and then gently rinse them off and then plant them. And gibberellic acid is your go-to if you have the most stubborn seeds, which could be wild varieties or whatever. So this is Jim Duffy Refining Fire Chiles, and we've got 70-something trays to do. We're going to try to do 20 tonight and then 28 tomorrow. If not, we'll finish up Saturday. Today is March 1st. Well, after midnight, it'll be March 1st. It's February 29th. Happy leap year, 2024. And this is how we do it. This is how we do the trays with the easy seeder. That's not really that easy and doesn't do things perfectly. This is the easy seeder. And 288 cell trays. So if you wanted to get the easy seeder because you want to start a greenhouse operation, then you just have to get the template that matches your tray for the type of seed you're using. If you're a farmer, these things are great for those seeds that are round like cilantro or whatever, because almost every seed's going to stick to each hole. So you're not going to have to touch up your trays like I have to here. But, it's a good tool. Cuts my time more than half. And hey, that's great because I don't want to be out here all night. All right. So this is Jim Duffy, Refining Fire Chiles. I hope this video is helpful. You have any questions, ask in the comments. I will be posting this video up to YouTube, or I might reshoot it with my GoPro so my hands will be free. All right. Y'all take care now. This is Jim Duffy from Lindale, Georgia, signing off. Bye-bye.